Hello everyone, my name is Deepak and I'm a tax code advisor. Today I'm going to share some tips about how you can save money on your childcare business, especially if you're a new business owner, especially if you're starting out a new childcare facility. I think there are some people spend way too much money on starting a business, and because they spend so much, the ROI is just not there. Second thing I see is people take on too much debt to set up that business. And because of that, the ROI is not there. Third thing I see is people spend too much money on taxes because they're not efficient with strategically setting up the business, and they end up giving all the profits away to the IRS. So I'm going to be talking about all of those things, which essentially will make you more profitable. I think this will be very helpful for those of you guys who want to set up your new childcare business. And there are different versions of it. There are people who do it at the home base, people who do it at a brick and mortar store, people who do it at a play school, people do it in all different kind of ways. So it doesn't matter what you're trying to do. I think it's applicable to all of you. So without any further ado, let's get started. All right. So first of all, setting up the business itself. Now, a lot of time I see people spend tens of thousands of dollars in setting up the business. But you see, there are two parts to business. One is before you set up the business, and one part is after you set up the business. Before you set up the business, you could be just a sole prop because you're not taking on any risk. So you can do a lot of activities without spending money on actually officially setting up your business. For example, you can set up a website. Nobody's asking you if you have an EIN number, you have an LLC set up, you have an S Corp, C Corp. Nobody's asking you all that. You can just build up a website, get a domain name, usually costs $10, set one up. And by the way, on that reminder, if you are our client, if you're a part of our comprehensive package, business package, then you will have access to my IT resources, and you can use their time to build out your website as well. It's limited, so depending upon what package you have, but you will have access to them for free altogether. But even today, you can just go, to one and one. You can go to GoDaddy. There's so many other providers out there, and you can build a simple website, maybe even just a landing page that talks about your business. It has your domain name. It can, start generating leads for you. You don't have to go spend money on that. Sometimes I see people say, "Oh, I paid $5,000 to set the website up." Why? Why do you need to do that? Not today, at least not yet. All you got to do is set up a simple landing page that captures people's information. Number two, you can go to Facebook. Facebook is not asking for your EIN number. They're not asking you how are you registered, which state you're registered in. They're not asking any of those questions. You can secure your brand name on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok if you use it, Twitter, whatever your favorite platforms. And even if you don't plan on using it, I would still secure my domain name anyway. So let's say if your domain name is XYZ Childcare, then I want to make sure that on YouTube, I take that name, on Facebook, I take that name, Instagram, I take that name, TikTok, I take that name. So at least you have a placeholder there. Nobody's asking you to pay any kind of money to attorneys or to accountants to set anything up for you. This is all for free. So do this maybe a 6 months, year before you're planning on opening up the business. So now that you have set up all this up, you have your YouTube, you have your TikTok, you have your Facebook, start creating content. Let's just make an assumption that you are already in business, like you're operating the business, and start talking to your audience, start sharing information about your industry. Whatever research that you're doing, maybe share it with the public. A new tip to take care of kids, about nutrition, about health, all that kind of stuff. Share it. Second thing you want to do is at the same time look at other people's social profiles, look at other people's YouTube channels. What are they talking about? What can you learn from them? And maybe you rephrase that content and share it with people as well. So I think once you start the business, you'll be so busy running the business that you might not have enough time to spend on all this stuff. So if you can spend that time now that you don't have a business in place, this will have a major ROI on your overall business. Another reason I like this is because the history of your domain has a lot to do with marketing. So, although I think sometimes people disagree with that, but obviously somebody who is more established sounds more credible. So, if you go to somebody's YouTube profile, they've been, posting content for let's say last 20 years, it will obviously look more credible to you that they've been doing this for at least 20 years because they've been talking about it. So, if you want to get into this business even a few years down the road, if you start talking about it right now, I think that will pay off quite a bit. YouTube is probably one of the major source of organic traffic these days. Back in the days, it used to be text-based blogging, but that is slowly kind of starting to disappear now, especially with AI. And I don't know, even YouTube might have a lot of AI videos in future. But I think this whole human connection would still exist. There are people out there who absolutely love me. They are so impressed with the information I bring for them, not just from tax world, but from finance world, from business world, from marketing point of view. They go like, "Oh my God, you're like one consultant in four in one," and that adds a lot of value. I don't do all that stuff for them, but at least they can use that information and at least not waste money. There's so many fakers out there. People spend tens of thousands of dollars only to figure out that that was just waste of money. So by learning all this stuff, they're able to save all that money. So I think the main point here is the earlier you start posting your content, it's going to do two things. Number one, you're going to build credibility. But more importantly, it will help you develop your personality. You will get comfortable talking to camera. You will learn how to use microphones. You will learn how to properly use lighting. You will learn how to speak better. I'm still learning all kind of things. So that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. How long does it take? Honestly, the answer I have been able to gather, it's 10,000 hours. So let's do a quick math real quick. So if I take 10,000 hours and I divide it by 40 hours a week, that will take me 250 weeks to get really good with whatever skill I'm trying to acquire. So let's say if it's YouTube or it's about personality development or it's about getting really good at taxes, whatever skill I want to get really good at, the rough answer is if I study it for 40 hours a week, I practice it for 40 hours a week, it will take me 250 hours to become um, to have a proficient knowledge that somebody sees me as an expert. I might not be an expert at that point, but at least people will see me as an expert. So 250 weeks. So now let's do a math. How many years is that? So 250 weeks is roughly 5 years. So if I do this YouTube thing every single week for 40 hours a week, it will take me 5 years to get really good with it. So now, maybe halfway, I will start to look halfway decent because most people are average or, less than average. So all I have to do is be halfway there. So if I can spend 2.5 years focused on making videos, there's a very good chance it will start to look good. Maybe you come back 2 years from now and take a look at my videos and confirm if it's looking any better. But my point is, if you're starting out a new business, this skill will take time. How do you interact with the camera? How do you talk to people? How do you post on Facebook? Most of this going to be in a video format, and that is going to take you time. My guess is at least between 2 to 5 years for you to become really good. So start early. It will help you develop your own personality. It will help you develop your own brand. It will help you set up credibility. So I think this is a major thing you can do before you start the business. Now, let's say what happens if you don't do it. If you don't do this, what will happen is more than likely you are going to hire somebody to help you out with it. Maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's somebody maybe it's a family member. But the problem I have with all those people, I have I think mentioned a few times earlier in other videos as well, is that they are not your employees, they're not your partners, they are helping you, they're volunteering their time, and there's always a finite limit to it. People want to help you out, but for how long? Maybe a week, 2 weeks, a month. Nobody wants to help you out for your business forever. So you really need to get good with learning how to do it yourself. If you're spending too much money on people selling you SEO services, selling you PPC or paid marketing services, selling you YouTube videos, selling you content creation, you're wasting a lot of money. And in the new business, that can be a killer. So I think if you can spend some time learning all this on your own, and like I said, you don't have to get super good at it, you just have to start doing it. So that way you're somewhat decent. And honestly, to do a childcare business, you don't need to do too much marketing. It's probably all you got to do is get in front of the right people and be consistently in front of them, and I think you'll be just doing fine. So that's my tip number one today. Start early with marketing. Start learning how to do things. Don't get, boggled down because you don't have an LLC set up, accounting set up. All that can happen later. Just get yourself a domain name and get going. Start doing things from day one. Now, how successful you're going to be in a business will largely depend upon how many processes you have already built and how good those processes are. Now, you have all the time in the world right now because you have not set up the business. And if you already have set up the business, then I would strongly encourage you that you take some time out of your business and start working on creating processes. You should have a process about everything. For example, let's say it's about making a YouTube video. What is your process? How do you determine what content you're going to build, how often you're going to build, how will you learn how to get better at that content? All of those things are important. You need to clearly document it so that way you can religiously follow upon it. For example, I think in somewhere on YouTube, I heard where Google was saying that each video YouTube has is evaluated on its own merit. That means if you just create one video, it is possible that you could be a big shot on YouTube. And then I talked to some other clients and they said, no, unless you have a consistency, you're not producing enough quantity of content, you would never get good at it because you don't know what works and you will never be able to build a quality around it. So you need to produce a lot of content so that way you get really comfortable with camera. You get really good with talking to yourself because you don't have an audience in front of you. I mean, those of you guys who come to my seminar and webinars, you see what kind of personality I am in front of people. And here I am in a room alone, just talking to a camera. I don't know if you can really feel that energy just watching this video. So there are people out there you watch, they have like cameras on left side, the right side, one on top, and they're looking this angle, and 2 minutes they're looking this angle, and then they're looking up there, and they're able to create similar kind of environment within the video itself. Maybe one day I'll be able to do that, but definitely not today. So focus on documenting that process, and that process will only get better. So what kind of processes your business will need? Obviously, marketing is one process. How do you meet with other people? How are you going to go talk to new parents? What kind of groups exist in your community? What kind of groups exist online that you can perhaps be part of? What other people you can network? Are there other tax professionals in your area that you can network with? Are there other financial professionals, legal professionals, hospitals, nurses? What kind of people? Schools, people who have like different franchises or other things that offer birthday parties and stuff like that. You need to think about all the people you need to meet to get your name out there. Now, I want you to go do that, but more importantly is what is your process to find all those people? That is critical. You need to have that process. How are you going to search for them? Maybe you hire an offshore assistant to do that for you, or you're doing it yourself, or you go through some listing or whatever your process is, you need to document it and you need to track it. And if it needs to be tweaked and updated, then you update it along the way. So think about all the processes you're going to need. Maybe you want to go visit all the childcare centers in your area. Maybe you want to go to talk to other people and learn about their processes. Okay, now that you have done marketing in advance, you have procedures in advance, now you need to actually start doing stuff. Now you might be saying, well, wait a minute, I don't have a company set up. I don't have anything set up just yet. Well, true, but before you spend money on doing any of that stuff, you need to start generating revenue. at least get commitment that people are willing to pay you money. So you want to do low risk activities. For example, maybe you come up with the toy kits that you deliver to parents. For example, you can probably get them from Alibaba or Amazon, or maybe you travel offshore to some other child convention or whatnot, and you find some creative toys from there, and you start offering those toys to people and say, look, here's a kit. I sell it for 20 bucks or 30 bucks or something like that. The idea is you want to generate a list. So let's say if you want 10 kids at your childcare center, I would like you to build a list of at least 200, 300 customers. And that's it. So all we have to do is find some good product that 200, 300 people are willing to pay attention to that. So maybe you go to local events, something like that, set up a little booth there, and you show your products there. You're like, hey, this is what I said. By the way, I have a childcare center coming up next year, and I would like you to try it out. And this is the way you can generate leads. Another idea I can share with you is maybe you use an AI tool, or you hire somebody to use an AI tool for you, and you can create a picture book, coloring book, around your brand, around your thought process, and maybe you sell that to parents for really cheap price, maybe at the cost. The idea here is to generate leads without spending any money on it. These kind of activities will allow you to not just generate leads, but also really get comfortable with talking to parents, get comfortable getting in front of people, gets comfortable with dealing with different kind of people, and learning about the challenges that parents are facing dealing with other childcare facilities. So once again, doing this doesn't require you to set up a corporation. Now, if you're selling a product, you might have to collect sales tax. So just be aware of that. So that means you might have to get a sales tax permit. So just be careful. And you also have to file a sales tax return. So that's one little problem I have with selling products. But considering the amount of leads you'll be able to generate, the targeted customers you'll be able to generate, I think it's worth it. Instead of spending thousands of dollars in marketing, I'll, it just maybe a couple $100 to file that report and, register for that permit. It's a worthwhile headache, I think, in comparison to spending money on marketing. If you're really good with decoration, you can perhaps offer people help with their birthdays. So you can say, look, I don't have a space yet, but I'll be happy to decorate for you. I'll be happy to entertain kids for you. So you can provide your own services to these parents as well. That's another great way to generate leads as well. You can also talk to, bigger childcare centers, that are run by companies, and you can offer some help there. You can also maybe volunteer at a nursery or something like that. The idea is in the first 6 months to 1 year, generate as many free leads as possible. Yeah, because that's what's going to get you to profitability. If you spend way too much money in marketing, that's just going to kill your business. I think they can buy some sort of list from online, or maybe from somebody else, and then they try to send out an email, and they hope they're going to get the business that way. It's very hard to get business through email, at least these days. Do email work? Yeah, but that means that the customer needs to have a relationship with you. They need to trust your brand. You need to have a quality content in that email. Then people pay attention. Otherwise, nobody is watching their emails to look for a marketing message. So be careful with buying any kind of email list, and even if you don't buy an email list, sending out an email blast to a few hundred people without having a relationship with them, because if they don't open your email, they don't reply back to your email, they have no engagement with you, all your future emails will start going to their spam, which you don't want to do. So be careful with this email tactic. It doesn't always work out. So you do need to do some legwork beforehand. Now, one of the techniques I tell my clients to use is when they have a customer that they have acquired at a nursery or at a booth, or somewhere where they got their email address, start marketing to them using social media like Facebook or Instagram. You're not doing a whole lot of marketing. You're not spending thousands of dollars. Maybe you're spending $50, $100. because you're only targeting to very specific customer base. And the idea is that not just now they saw you at the booth and now they're seeing it on their Facebook profile. Slowly, they will start to recognize you as a brand. It might take some time, but it will surely happen. So I think that techniques actually work very well. And once again, we haven't spent a single dollar in forming your company yet. So these are all the things that you can do on your own to become a profitable business. It is so easy to skip that everything I just shared with you. So easy. Like, oh, you know what? First thing I'm going to do is register an LLC. Then I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy this and I'm going to do this. And you might feel like you're super busy. You might feel like that you're making a lot of progress, but you're not making any money. And when clients come to me and sometimes they want to, oh yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that. Like first you got to make money. Don't waste your money because if I tell you, I can tell you tons of techniques. I can tell you all kind of stuff, but execution is so important. And if you are executing the wrong steps at the wrong time, those can be a very costly mistake. So once you have a business set up, now let's talk about how do you set up your office, how do you set up the childcare, and we can talk about it if you want to talk about it today. Maybe I can give you some ideas behind that. But my main point is the time you spend on doing your marketing before your company opens up will probably have the most ROI for you. So use that time wisely. Another thing I see is that people waste too much money on the formation of their business. Why? Because they go to some seminar, webinar, which I mean people come to my seminar webinars as well, so it's not a bad thing. But then people charge like $10,000, $12,000 to setting up a company, which doesn't make any sense for most people. That's a waste of time. Our prices are extremely reasonable. We can tell you how to do it yourself. We can walk you through it, or we can get our attorneys involved and do it properly as well. So we give our customer choice. Hey, how much you want to spend? And you can always upgrade. So you can start one way and then a few months later upgrade. Another thing you can also do is start working on building partnerships. Now, these partnerships usually work out very well when you're able to refer some business back to them. For example, if I know I can get 4 or 5 customers from you, perhaps I'll be interested in sponsoring something at your play school, maybe some equipment or something like that. And but at the end of the day, you need to be able to deliver some value back to them. So keep that in mind and talk to other professionals in your area whom you think you can give some business back, maybe to a realtor, maybe to an insurance company, maybe a tax professional, maybe a finance professional. All of those people are looking for customers. So are you able to make referrals to them? However, if you ask them to sponsor you on day one, I think you're going to have a hard time, especially when you have nothing to show for. What I would rather do is I will try to, refer some customers to them to begin with. And if you're able to bring them some clients and then you approach them, hey, I already sent you a couple of customers. This is what I plan on doing. Can you help me out? I think they're more likely to help you out because they already know that you are going to deliver value. So try to work on those kind of relationships and and ask for something in specific. For example, maybe you ask them to sponsor a room or a section or a toy or something like that. So just don't say, hey, can you help me out with the business? That's not going to work as well. But if you say, hey, look, this is the toy that I'm trying to buy for the kids, would you mind sponsoring it? I'll put your name up there and I'll continue to refer customers to you. I think you will have a better luck getting those people to respond to you. Another thing that you can also do is try to trade your services with theirs. So, for example, who do you think will have a complimentary service? For example, maybe somebody is doing birthday parties. So maybe you go and say, look, you're already doing a birthday parties. I will try to do this for you. That could be one way to do it. Maybe somebody is providing food for birthday parties. You partner up with them. Maybe somebody has a coaching classes or yoga classes for kids or something like that. And you try to partner up with them. So you need to really find those kind of people so that way you can provide even a better solution to your customer base. Now remember, many of these partners may also have kids. So as you're having discussion with these partners, you want to get a little bit personal. Hey, where does your kids go to school? Oh, you have two kids. Oh, how old? And try to find out. And if they are in your ideal group, then one way to do it is maybe you give them a pass. You say, look, for your entire year, I can take care of the child for free or something like that, and you can get that particular business owner to sponsor you that way. So the main point is you have to see how can you deliver value to them, because if you're not able to deliver value, then nothing else matters at that point. And find out, if you are able to buy some used stuff, if possible, especially the expensive stuff. Maybe cheap stuff you can buy on your own, but if you do need some expensive stuff at your place, then maybe you can find it used. At least in the beginning, you can always upgrade it a few months later once you have revenue coming in. So don't ignore that aspect. Sometimes you can even get families to donate that for you. So you might say, look, I'll take care of the child if you can donate that item, but do the math. So don't, what I mean when I say that is we're talking about a customer that you would not be able to get otherwise. So if you already have a customer, don't let go of that revenue. That is just not a good business. But if you don't have a customer, maybe the place is a little bit further away, your chances of organically getting that particular student is none anyway. So if you're able to get their parents to sponsor something for you, that is still a revenue. So you can consider doing that as well. Lastly, I will leave you with hunting for space. So, like I said in the beginning, I always recommend people start with their home or a rental real estate or something like that, where your liability is very short term. So, what do I mean by that? Let's say if you find yourself a commercial space, most commercial space will require you to sign a lease for 5 years at the bare minimum, sometimes 3 years, but most will require you to 5 years. But if you find another residential property, they might only require a lease for 6 months or a year. So if you want to just try out, see how things are going to go, and you don't want to do it in your own home, then maybe go with another residential property. It's just a less risk. And then if you see the business is growing and everything is going well, then you can upgrade it into a commercial property. Rent is probably going to be your biggest expense. Payroll is another biggest expense. So you have to be very careful with those: rent, payroll, and marketing. Those are the three reasons why I see people failing financially all the time. So if you can control those three costs, then I think you can build a massive business because you'll be profitable. In order for business to survive, you have to keep the cost low. Because if bad time comes, you're not able to attract the customers or whatnot. At least if your cost is low, you'll be able to survive in the business. So keep that in mind and try to find properties that are maybe a little bit further down, that are maybe not an attractive location for somebody else, but maybe an attractive location for you. Don't be in rush. Maybe you have to wait a little bit to find the perfect property. So don't get too excited that you have to do this overnight. If you take 6 months, a year to prepare and find yourself a perfect location at a good price, I think that is worth it. So those were some of the tips that come to my mind right now that you can use to do this business at the minimum cost possible. But I'll be happy to help you in more details. If you want to learn more or talk to me about setting up your business, just go to taxcodeadvisors.com, set up a free discovery call, and then we'll take it from there. Um, if there's any question, comment, anything you can suggest how I can improve, and if you have some suggestions, please leave it below the video, and I'll definitely try to respond to them and answer those for you in the next video. Till then, thank you.